Grog.
Badger!
Just a moment, you just assured me that I could speak.
Sit down inside the car. We're not assuring anything. We're under arrest.
Look, I'm under what? Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. Have a look at the headlock here. See that chap over there? Get your hand off my penis! This is the bloke who got me on the penis before.
Get some cups.
Why did you do this?
Hop in the car. Get some cups.
For what reason? What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal? Oh, that's a nice headlock, sir. Oh, yes. I see that you know your judo well. Good one. Now, get your hands off me. Ta-ta and farewell.
Hello everyone, do not adjust your radio listening device. You are listening to the Cider podcast. That was a little tribute there to someone who is in many ways almost a member of the Cider podcast community, Jack Karlson. Now, if you don't know Jack Karlson, he was very famous for getting dragged out of a Chinese restaurant in, I believe, Sydney in the early 90s. Famous for such quotes as, Keri?
Take your hands off my penis.
He's quite on the record as having pretended to be nuts because he didn't want to get properly arrested. And he was a petty thief. But unfortunately, at the time, he got mistaken for some international criminal and half of Interpol were waiting outside. So they slapped the cuffs on him and he was just writing dodgy checks or something. But they had the wrong bloke. But he fit the description. So yeah, Jack Karlson has passed away. We've had a few jingles with him as well, haven't we, over the years? Yeah. So yeah, rest in peace. I in later life, he started making money out of that. He started doing paintings of the scene and selling them for a fortune.
Yes, he was actually an artist, wasn't he? Yeah, and there are some really cracking, interesting interviews with him knocking about on YouTube as well.
Yes, definitely an interesting character. Go away and check him out. I think he also went by the name of Charles Dosa for a while, or Doza, but I think this is one of his many charms. He's very much the Joe Grundy of Australia, isn't he? Always on the make of some sort. But yeah, lots of people got in touch. Claudia posted on our Facebook group that he died. On our Twitter, thank you for the Daves, sent it saying sad times. On our Instagram, John Cooper shared the story with the Cider Shed, as did Kate Down Under, the title from The Age. This is Democracy Manifest. Dan Tooley sent it to me as well and said, I assume your inbox may be full of the sad news.
Yes. Because I messaged you, didn't I, Matthew? And you went, yes, lots of people have been messaging.
Dan says, I'll be having a succulent Chinese meal out of respect. And then he added, maybe accuse someone of touching my penis. So yeah, Jack Karlson, rest in power, big man. Have a big succulent Chinese meal in the Chinese restaurant in the sky for us. Okay, well, that's a little bit of a different intro. Let's have a little break and then we'll get into the Archers.
Yeah.
Nestled in the Hassett Hills, you'll find one of the finest producers of fruity cider for impressionable and wayward young men in the whole county. Here at Wrongfield Orchard Farm, we pride ourselves on the perfect blend of zesty fruitiness and toxic masculinity. So the next time you're in need of a quick fix of tangy fruit to take your mind off things, perverting the course of justice, for example, insist on our signature fruity cider, Wrongbow. Wrongbow is available in village shops across the county and comes in 3 distinct flavors: Andrew Tate Apple Fizz, Jordan Peterson Pineapple Plush, and the classic Wrongfield Raspberry Ripple. Wrongbow by Wrongfield Orchard Farm. Bad apples.
So it was a right old humdinger of an episode on Friday between George and Emma, between the two of them. A lot of people were saying that was the first double-hander since some episode with Elizabeth, but in my head, Rob and Helen, when they met in Swindon, was just a two-way, wasn't it? Unless you're being a real pedant and counting the waitress.
Also, when she went into his room, when he was in bed, was that not one?
I got a feeling that cut away a couple of times.
Oh, it packed a right punch. It was very powerful stuff. Very well played.
So everyone's thinking, well, what next? There was a lot of people saying they better not start with the bloody cricket on Sunday. And on Sunday, they started with the cricket.
Yeah, with Justin giving wicket advice to George, who was having absolutely none of it. He was like, right, like you know what you're talking about.
It's one of those moments where George being like that is just delightful, isn't it?
Yes.
He's like, what do you want? You went, a quick word of advice? No, thanks.
Lovely.
Blew him away straight away. You just heard Alistair go, good luck.
Yeah, he said, I told you he wasn't in a very good mood.
So I thought I'd tell you, the wicket here is quite slow. And he went, I want to know this, why?
Yes, because things are weighing heavy on our little George's mind, aren't they?
They are. It's getting to him. And the problem shared thing, I don't think that's actually helped, really, has it?
It's not working. No.
It's more made him panic that he's let the cat out of the bag.
It's interesting, though, that he is going to cricket. I mean, if I had this thing hanging over me, I'd cower away at home. I don't think I'd be getting out and about to do anything for fear of slipping up verbally.
I guess he wants to present a normal front as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I guess. But how hard that must be.
Yeah, and like Alistair said, he's in a foul mood. I like that little conversation about Josh pulling out of the under-16s coaching with Alistair and Hannah. I didn't make the connection straight away, but I was happy because Justin probed it a bit, wasn't he? He was like, did he have a good reason? Sickness? Holiday plans? Moral objection? And Alistair went, oh, because you had a fling with Paul's mum, the young vet.
He said, it isn't a fling. He was like, oh, yes, he lives with your vet nurse, doesn't he? So knew that there was a connection with Paul. So he's backing Paul big time by not having anything to do with the silly old cricket.
Yeah, I wonder if Paul actually pressured him to do that. Here, Josh, could you help me out? Could you totally fuck Alistair over with the coaching of the under-16s?
Because it's not like Josh to let anyone down like that, is it? Really?
Yeah, Josh, we asked you to do that really important thing. Sorry, eggs. That's it, isn't it? That's the end of the conversation.
But then hilariously, William suggests that George would be a good person to take the under-16s under his wing.
Brilliant idea.
And that goes down like a cup of cold sick with George.
Yeah.
Stop trying to pull my strings, butt out. I don't want to know. And Justin was overheard talking to Alistair. Was like, I think we can probably take that as a no.
Well, on our midweeker, where we asked a lot of people for, their grievances, their doubts, etc., about the Archers in general, Sue made the point that it's nice of Justin to get a gambler who's had addiction problems gambling again. You do wonder if this is some little beginning of that, the tenor.
Could be, couldn't it? Although we're still in the mire of another addiction story, surely. They won't go there, will they?
We cut away. Alistair comes back in. Like, Justin, you got a spare 50? I've just pumped 100 into the fruity.
Immediately.
Smoking a cigarette, and he's already got like a beard growing.
And one of those visors on. In green. Oh, God. No, please. Don't want tortured Alistair. I don't want any more of him being like that. Thank you.
Also, we were kind of slightly treated to Justin, that thing that he does when he kind of reminisces about his own wayward days when he was a bit of a player. Because you remember that time he said to Rory when he busted her with Julianne at the conference, oh, an old dog like me knows that the boardroom and the bedroom are just two sides of the same agenda, Rory.
Yeah, he's crap at both of them, I imagine. God, the thought of him. Yeah, because he said something else as well, didn't he? I know people, I do. As if he's some sort of mystic people reader. He seems to be ignorant about pretty much everyone around him.
Well, in relation to the predicament Alistair is in at work, he went, oh, workplace dalliances, I know that to my cost. And then I thought he said, deep pools of bitterness in my plums. Did I hear him wrong? Was it a plum?
Yeah, he did go off on one there, didn't he?
Well, elsewhere on Sunday's episode, you had Fal and Ed discussing what they're going to do for Emma's 40th.
Yeah, it's another thing that can't just be a run-of-the-mill party. Yes, it is her 40th, but Ed's getting in a right panic that there's no specialness about it. Best he could come up with as a theme was birthday.
That's all you need.
It is all you need.
I turned 50 like 2 weeks ago. We went out, we had lots of margaritas, we had lots of tacos, and on the weekend when it wasn't my birthday, a bunch of people came over here and sang happy birthday to me, and we had a few more cocktails. And I was like, right, there you go.
So silly old themey John Travolta thing is happening, isn't it? So Ed is having to learn some dance moves from Saturday Night Fever, which isn't an 80s film, it's a 70s one, but Harrison pointed that out as well. So that's okay. But Fallon seemed to be really warming to Ed.
A lot of people noticed that. It was her pile eye laugh was all over the shop, wasn't it, again?
Yeah, do you think it was to highlight the difference between how she behaves around him and having a right laugh and a bit of a flirtation going, oh, that suit looks really good on you, and then this clanging reality of being with Harrison, who barely pays any attention to what she says to him, despite the fact that they've had this problematic period? She was trying to talk to him about the EV charging station opportunity and how he had treated Alice when they'd accidentally bumped into her. And he's just going, oh, look at that litter. Look at these yogurt pots. Pay attention to your wife.
They seemed genuinely shocked by the yogurt pots, wasn't it? Yeah, like cans of Coke, fast food wrappers, but yogurt eaters don't normally litter.
Yeah. It's like middle class people don't throw litter. Yeah. But do you think this is some sort of it reminded me of when the slave person, what was he called?
Blake.
Yeah, when bits and bobs were found about him, weren't they?
Yes, you're right. He was staying in the bird hide and Jazzer.
That's it. Yeah. It reminded me of that, and I did think, wow, is it someone like that who's returning and living a bit rough, and who would that be? Or is it literally just a litter story? Because then later on, Linda was put on litter duty fantastically by Joy. Litter management.
Yes, yeah, we'll get into that in a bit.
Yes.
Now, Keri, I'm happy that you pointed out that Saturday Night Fever is a 70s movie and not from 1984, because the listeners have kindly donated some quotes from 1984's biggest movies.
Shit off. Have they?
Yes, they have.
Cruel, cruel people.
Okay, so here we go. Keri Warbis, Film 84. Wax on, wax off. Both Rob and Lucy suggested that one.
Well, that's to do with beautifying somebody, isn't it?
This one got suggested the first time we did Film Warbis, and I didn't use it. I'll tell you what, Laura suggested another quote from the same movie.
Okay, this will help.
Man who catch fly with chopstick achieve anything.
Oh, well, right, okay. Has it got Bruce Lee in it?
No. But you're in the right area.
Enter the
No.
beauty salon?
No.
Karate Kid.
Have a cheese egg.
Yes!
No!
Yeah. Little fact about Karate Kid, my mum cried at the end. So Desiree said, I thought archaeologists were always funny little men searching for their mummies.
Ooh, now this sounds like it might be a sort of Temple of Doom type thing. What's he called? That Harrison Ford person. Indiana Jones? Is that around then, or is that much later? Probably later, isn't it?
Have a cheese egg.
It's 2 out of 2, Keri. Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom.
Was that in the mid-80s?
1984.
Bloody hell.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think, was 81, 82. Courtney also suggested from that same movie, dessert, chilled monkey brains. And Rob said, Fortune and Glory, kid, Fortune and Glory. Kate has suggested, do you hear that, New York? I'm staying. The frog is staying. You should get this, Keri.
The frog is staying in New York. Oh, I don't know anything about a frog in New York. Kermit. Is it Kermit?
It's Kermit. What's the name of the film?
The Muppets in New York.
Oh, you need a bit more alliteration, really, with Muppets.
Manhattan. Muppets of Manhattan.
I'll give it to us. The Muppets Take Manhattan.
Have a cheese egg.
I haven't even seen that. I want to. Muppet Christmas Carol, one of my favourite films.
Joe said, we're very lucky in the band that we have 2 visionaries, David and Nigel. They're like poets, like Shelley and Byron.
What? Is this a film quote?
Yeah.
Oh, I got sidetracked then because they were Archer's character names. I thought you were chuntering on about something else. Could you do that one again? Sorry.
We're very lucky in the band that we have two visionaries, David and Nigel. They're like poets, like Shelley and Byron.
In a band. What's that? School of Rock? That's later, isn't it? This one is stumping me totally. Is there any other clue?
Another quote from this one that was suggested. This one's called Lick My Love Pump.
Oh, yes. Brilliant film. Now I've got to remember its name. With the Stonehenge that's wrong scale.
Because Ed Hill also said, these go to 11.
Oh, it's such a good film.
And I said to Ed, last time we had a insert name of movie reference, Keri couldn't remember the name of it.
No, what, this one?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I love it. And I've watched it many times. And they've got fabulous moustaches. One of them I quite fancy, actually.
Only one of them's got a fabulous moustache.
I think it's him that I fancy.
The actor Harry Shearer that does a load of voices in The Simpsons as well.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, Keri, I'm going to have to move on. This is Spinal Tap. Shocking. That's the third time it's been in Film Warbis, and each time you've failed to remember it. Lucy said, never feed him after midnight.
Is that some sort of gremlin thing?
Have a cheese egg.
It's Gremlins. Well done.
I've never seen it, but...
Rick Turner says, there's bogies all over me.
Is it Ghostbusters?
Badger!
Top Gun.
Oh, no, I've never seen that. What's bogies to do with Top Gun?
Bogies are like the enemy fighter jets.
Isn't a bogie a type of horse and carriage as well? See, that's the era that I'm in. Before the combustion engine.
Dan Tooley said, Artax, stupid horse, you got to move or you'll die. He's added, maybe Artax had trangles.
Now, was that horse?
Yeah.
Not horse.
I went to see this movie with my grandmother at the cinema. I'll give you a little clue. Big fantasy film of the mid-80s. And an 80s pop singer sang the theme tune to it.
Is it Never Ending Story?
Have a cheese egg.
It is, well done.
What's the name of the film?
Never Ending Story. You fucking twat.
Badger! Badger! Badger!
Okay, good.
I reference you again to Homer Simpson going on about speed as the bus that could never slow down.
So I'm trying to... I was 20... No, I was 19, I think, in 1984.
Yeah.
And never saw any of these.
Also, to Dan Tooley, he was the one that suggested, well, this piece is called Lick My Love Pump to help you with the movie you can't remember the name of. Jessa said, what are you looking at? You never seen a guy sleep with a fish before?
A fish called Wanda?
Badger!
I'm afraid it's Splash, Keri.
Oh, of course, yeah. Now, I have actually seen that one.
And let's end with this one from Pat, but there's a few more contributors. So, human sacrifice, dog and cats living together, mass hysteria. Also, you could have back off man, I'm a scientist. Jessa from the same movie. That's a big Twinkie.
Cats and dogs living together. No idea.
You've mentioned it already, erroneously.
Have I now? Dunno.
Ghostbusters. All right, Keri, I mean, at the end of that round...
I started promisingly and then dropped like a stone.
You got 4 out of 9.
Right, okay.
Yeah, the first 4 you got right. The trajectory is going up, I think.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so in relation to Sunday's episode,
Yes.
Ed did suggest The Shining. Fallon said, what about Star Wars? Return of the Jedi? And he went, Emma never liked them Ewoks.
I thought of you when Star Wars was mentioned because you're convinced there's a conspiracy amongst the scriptwriters to mention it at any possible occasion.
And then she said, what about E.T.?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
To which she said, no, all them guns and cocaine. Emma won't like that.
Guns and cocaine.
All those Cuban drug dealers in
Yeah.
Hawaiian shirts. No, I don't like that theme. That's Scarface, Ed.
Oh, do you think?
He then referred to E.T. as a bald Ewok.
Princess Bride was mentioned as well, wasn't it?
It was.
So why have they gone for Saturday Night Bloody Fever made in the 70s?
Because there was a white suit down in the costume department.
Oh, yeah, great.
So yeah, they then did the dance routine, everything. Move on to Monday. Lillian's trying to pump Kirsty for information about the secret part. And she was like, I can't tell you because I don't know.
Yeah. And Lillian wanted her full support at cantering on. And she's like, I can't, I'm going off to the fate. And Lillian's like, it's going to be a disaster. I did think puntering on would be a good name for Twitter. Yes, so Lillian and Justin, he's meanwhile very, very pleased with how many the bookings we've got and projected revenue. And she's like, but the whole of Ambridge is going to be at the fete. He just thinks this whole on should be a celebration of their resilience and survival. What with like no attendees at it.
We did great. There's just 3 of them with like tumbleweed going across the
Cheers.
yard in front of them.
Yeah, clip, clop, clip, clop. And then I loved this bit when Alice walked in and went, hi, I'm ready to start back at work again.
Yeah, Justin had just been looking at their bookings, summer projected profits. And she said, oh, I know, but like people round here, they're all going to go to the fete. And he pretty much went, yep, the plebs round here aren't the only people that use the stables. Rich people from outside of the village do.
He's not keen on Alice returning, is he? One little bit. In fact, wants to scheme a way strategically of getting to fire her.
Rob had the great suggestion on the midweeker that maybe I'll have a word with one of Masonic mates to kind of make sure she goes down for a long stretch or something.
But to Lillian's credit, she properly put up a good fight here, didn't she? And said, like, there's no way that you're going to do that.
Yeah, because he offered a phased return.
Mm-hmm.
Is that F with an F or a PH?
Well, it is PH, but, you know, who knows with Alice? She's quite phased, isn't she, half the time? And then she just went, oh, yeah, that's quite a good idea.
But it's just a means to shaft her, though, isn't it? It's not genuine.
Oh, yeah.
That intro of the episode, because during the cricket, I thought I heard Chelsea shout out in the distance when they were playing in the cricket game. And I don't know, but in the opening sequence of Mondays, when Kirsty and Lillian were talking, could you hear Denise in the background?
Yeah, Fallon was telling me he's planning this surprise for Emma's birthday. Ed is? Yeah, to help cheer her up. Oh, do tell Kirsty. What's he doing?
Yes, Matthew.
She's crying out. Why are they ignoring her?
Is she credited in the cast list? So good on Lillian for sticking up for Alice. And Justin will eat his words when Alice is proven to be totally innocent. Well, not totally, but you know what I mean.
One of the other people who got in touch with us was Trudy midweek saying, let's hear about Joy putting Linda in her place. Well, first of all, Joy's got the cheese twists out.
Yes.
So I'm on board straight away.
And Linda was sniffy about that, was she? Oh, we can't have those during the meeting for afterwards, surely. And Kirsty went, well, I'm not waiting.
I thought a cheese twist was something that Helen gives her workers on the wrist if they're not working hard enough.
I thought a cheese twist was one of the moves that Ed was going to do in his white suit.
If it's your house at Christmas and there's some cheese twists out, be careful leaving them near me because they will get absolutely demolished.
Oh, they're cheese straws, really, aren't they? Do you call them twists?
Well, I think in it, M&S calls them cheese twists.
I've got a box of cheese straws in my cupboard.
Are we talking about the same thing here?
Yeah, it's like pastry, crispy,
long,
twisted, only slightly twisted. Yeah, crunchy, cheesy things, perfect with chilled fizz. Sorry.
Keri was losing it there.
Just doing an M&S advert there.
Yeah, wasn't it?
These aren't cheese twists. They're M&S
Either way,
twists. Yep.
Kirsty smashed a load into a gob and went, oh, what about the fruit? And Linda was like, what? I can't understand a word you're saying.
And I simply cannot function without a printed agenda. Fuck off.
Do you know something happened in last week's episode, which has now failed to happen in this one?
Our episode?
Yeah, last week's main episode. Can you guess? There was something we didn't do for the full podcast.
We didn't swear last week.
We didn't swear.
Oh, I've messed that up now, haven't I? That is unusual.
I think I edited one out because it just felt superfluous.
Okay, well, they usually are, aren't they? And yet somehow very necessary.
I'm sure Keri won't swear during this bit. Apparently Mick is being very practical and unfussy and doing really well at organising things.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
I won't. I did enjoy the point that she was making there, Kirsty, that there is no fuss being made. You know, he's just cracking on. In other words, Linda, you make a lot of fuss about everything.
The fact that she shot down that they could have some kind of vehicle that would transport people from cantering on back to the village fete and have this rotation of people. And she was like, no, because they're really rich. We are going to be the cost of living fete. There was a little part of me that thought that maybe Justin would be like, oh, come on, everyone, let's go to the poor zoo.
Yes.
That lot over there, the grubby people.
How life is on the other side of the tracks.
Come and see the people without horses.
But even prior to that, Linda, let alone saying you can't have a horse and cart going betwixt the two, when Joy's going, oh, surely there's a way, I'm not doing a voice, surely there's a way we can come up with some sort of solution that benefits both. And she's like, no, we can't. She wasn't even open to the idea of any sort of thinking about a solution, was she?
No.
Why? What is this born of in Linda?
Control, isn't it?
Yes, but where is it born of? Why does she have to do this?
I think it's because she has the competitive element. Normally she's fighting off Darrington, isn't she? There's always a little niggling rivalry between Robert and Linda and Justin and Lillian, even though they stayed at Ambridge Hall. Was it when their kitchen was being done, I think?
Yeah.
When Kitchens of Felpersham managed to get one gig, despite Jazzer being a really bad rep. I think now she's just transferred that conflict to her nearest neighbours and just decided because they're not going to change the date. Was it the fate date that had to change several times?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it just still baffles me why she feels the need to be quite so horrendous to her immediate neighbours and friends.
Well, Joy kind of brought that to a quick end, didn't she? Because she said, look, I'm going to do it. Kirsty, can you look into it? Can you go up to the stables and speak to them? She was like, no. I believe I have the final say. Didn't you ask me? And Linda went, yes. What did she offer her, first of all? Oh, to control that, the transport, wasn't it, between the two?
Yeah.
And she went, oh, well, you could always do litter management. And then Linda went, litter? And she went, management.
Yeah, because she really just went directly, do you want me to continue running the fete? And she sort of sheepishly went, yeah, yes, Joy, yes. The best phrase of that whole thing was where Joy went, your objection has been noted. I thought, yeah, and fucking ignored. But it was really good to make that point of like, yeah, I am listening. I've heard what you said. We're moving on with what I want to do. It was brilliantly handled by her.
Linda just finds it hard to leave things alone, doesn't she?
Oh, God, yeah. She needn't be in this thing at all, need she? I mean, it has potential, if it's done well, for it to be quite funny with the horsey people at the cost of living fete and vice versa. The people who never, ever would go to the stables suddenly appearing there.
Mummy? What's those strange things over there? It says Will's Pottery, Constance.
Oh, God. Oh, speaking of pottery, what about the hand-painted squirrel tray plate that every woman yearns for in their life?
Yeah, I mean, Emma treated that with the exact amount of passion,
of disdain,
that it should have had. She went, oh, lovely, George, yeah, lovely. And got a scarf with butterflies off Kira.
Every gift she's received has to have like images of creatures on it.
There was a very good point that was made when the Queen died. Someone on Twitter said, this Paddington thing and marmalade sandwiches, this is like telling someone that you like frogs and they buy you frog presents for the rest of your life.
Yes. Yeah, it's so like that, isn't it? I honestly thought she was going to go, whoops, and accidentally drop it on the stone floor because she was so fucked off with George.
They're not pissing around now, are they? This storyline's speeding up, which makes me think they've got X amount of things to do before Christmas.
Good. I want this. I want like pow, pow, pow every week.
George is getting nervous. Will isn't. They're in the static home, as far as I can gather. Little Grange, isn't it they call it? Or Little Grange, or Grangenio, or something. I don't know what they bloody call it anymore.
Tiny Grange.
Yeah.
Like Andrew Tate's penis.
Yes, indeed. He looked very, very...
penis-free.
Penis-free in those tight bikini bottoms, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, there certainly wasn't a squirrel down there, that's for sure. So they were there. George is obviously nervous because he knows possibly why Emma hasn't shown up. And she comes in and goes, oh, you're here? And he goes, yeah, getting things ready for your birthday. Made yourself at home, I see. She's clearly not happy that they're there. What a big contrast from Friday night when she went into number 1 The Green with George and it was saying like, I'll make you something, let me have a look in the fridge of Will's house and make you something. The distance and the awkwardness is massive now, isn't it?
Yep, you can sense it, can't you?
The fact that you can sense an awkward hug on the radio is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, Emma. She kind of said, didn't she, like, it's too much for me to handle on my own. And it is, isn't it? One person cannot keep this information and not do anything with it.
Rob said she's going to tell Ed and it's going to drive a wedge between the two brothers, with Will being the father. And then he came back later in the week and was like, oh yeah, I got it right, but wrong brother. But this is a big deal, isn't it? Because she's now telling Will what's happened and Ed probably won't know. And it's going to be this whole thing that, all right, so I was dancing like John Travolta and you knew the whole time.
Yeah. Yes. Well, it depends a little bit on how Will reacts, doesn't it, to this information?
Now, some people will be aware now. We are recording this early Thursday with Thursday and Friday's episodes to go that we will add on. At times, I've kind of thought about the structure of the pod and how we do it. But to be honest, I felt last week it really worked because we were there going, I wonder what's going to happen. And yeah, Helen Davis said, great episode. This is in relation to last week's. And one where your split recording schedule really paid off for us as listeners. The anticipation of knowing what the end of the week held while listening to your review of the first half was enjoyable in itself. And then being with you for your in-the-moment responses to Thursday, Friday was an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thank you very much for that lovely comment.
Yeah, cheers, Helen.
And I kind of get it. I get it. Yeah, it could be a thing.
Just the way that our work schedules are at the moment and stuff, or just our general life schedules. It just means we have to record on a Thursday and then top it up on the Friday. But yeah, I think it worked for us last week because we were in blissful ignorance, really, weren't we? We were there going, oh, this is going to roll on for ages. He's never going to tell anyone. Oh, he's told someone.
Oh, good. Yes.
Just to go back to the stables, Justin was pretty adamant that Alice can't work there again. Those were his exact words, weren't they?
Yes. I mean, yes, he's running a business, but is she that much of a liability? Obviously, in his mind, yes. And is Lillian only defending Alice because she knows her so well? Like, if Alice was someone who didn't live in Ambridge and was an external kind of employee from and perish the thought from a town elsewhere, I wonder if Lillian would be more siding with Justin. Is it the personal connection or is it on principle?
Well, it's the personal and the family, isn't it?
Yeah. But ideally, you ought to treat anyone going through this the same way as you would whatever their background and connection, shouldn't you?
Do you think that in any way gives Justin a point?
No, I don't personally. But I just wonder whether Lillian is quite similar to Justin. And I think if there wasn't that personal connection there, I have a terrible feeling that Lillian would be going, yep, you're right, let's get rid of her. Which is bad. She's
made the point that where's the history of written or verbal warnings? There's no evidence that she mismanaged anything.
Yep.
You know, I mean, that could all just be in a paper folder that they've lost.
Yeah, and of course, Justin doesn't even think about any of that because he probably isn't the one who would have to do it.
Maybe he thinks he can pay her off like Stefan.
Yes. He cares not one jot about other people.
So let's zip forward to where we were from in that last part we were talking about. Emma says to George, I'm not going for that meal. I can't face it. And George has to fess up at that point for the second time, with possibly a worse confession than the one he gave on Friday, which is, there's a big party planned. You got to go.
You've got to pretend.
Emma earlier in the day has called in at Chris's and Alice is there and Emma just came in out of the blue. Oh, actually, I'm glad you're here because I've been absolutely awful to you and I want to go in and say nice things about you and it'll carry much more water because I'll basically go in and they'll say, well, didn't you say she was a bitch? And I'll say, yeah, but now she's not a bitch. Now I like her.
Yeah, you can imagine Chris and Alice must have been side-eyeing each other like, what the is going on here? She might as well have marched into that room as a one-man band, sort of, with the like cymbals between her knees and banging a drum and sort of going on a harmonica and shouting like, I know something massive. The crash. Look at me. I acted like an utter weirdo.
Chris's jazz hands, isn't he? Happy birthday, sis. And she went, oh, yeah, all right. You went, you okay? And she was like, yeah, okay. Why? Why are you asking? Do I look like my son has just confessed to the fact that he was driving the car that she was going to go down for?
It's massive red flags, isn't it? It's like, what the, you would go, why is she suddenly doing this? It can't be that she's had a prick of conscience only, can it? Because when she said, oh, I want to say sorry, I've been so horrible, and Chris went, to say sorry? He just didn't understand where it was coming from.
They said it's all going to be initially based on Alice's first statement when she said she couldn't remember anything. But she said as it can only help her during the course of the trial, if she remembers other things, she can then kind of tack that on. How does this happen? How does it play out? Do you think she'll suddenly start remembering things in the courtroom? Is it going to get that far? And you're going to have George and Emma sat there? I mean, is it going to end up with all of the Grundys knowing?
I just don't know, Matthew. I hope there are court scenes.
If it gets as far as Clary and Ed, I think they blow the lid on it. Either of those two. Eddie, I wouldn't trust him. I think Will is more likely to keep Sturm, but I think those two, they wouldn't protect him. For God's sake, if Neil got wind of it, that would be the end of it.
I still think that the key consideration for me is whether George will admit to everything, not. And whether that's in the court or to someone else, don't know. It's that's the point, isn't it, where we hear him go, yes, it was me, I did it. I was only trying to help. Similar to what he was saying to his mum.
We're in the same territory as what we were saying about Denise and Alistair with Paul last week, which is like the slow drip of the truth, isn't it? To lessen the blow. But in the end, the whole thing is going to come out.
But of course, Alice is back in the village, wandering about with Martha. Maybe Alice and George will encounter each other.
That's what I was saying last week.
Yeah, and he'll see her with Martha and just like realise this is too horrendous for him to pretend anymore. Good, isn't it?
Fair play to Emma, though. She did, Emerald as well, did a cracking job of badly pretending to be surprised at a party.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, George, you knew. Chris, I saw you. And he went, I nearly messed it up today because he said, I've got to go. I've got a job at Brampton Green. And then he went, see you at the part. See you later.
Yeah, but then cut to the next scene as she's sobbing in some room. And William came in with the pint for George in the sodding hero glass that's been replaced.
That was just the ultimate icing on the hero cake, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Here's your pint, George, in your hero glass. They had it specially made at a cost of £3,000. Cut crystal, that is.
Golly, cliffhanger.
There's a lot of people predicting that Thursday will have none of them in it, and that's going to be massively frustrating.
What, no characters whatsoever?
Yeah, complete radio silence. Would you be up for that, Keri?
Yes.
Just ambient bird song.
No notes required.
Yeah, sheep noises, bit of a tractor.
Yeah. Denise quacking away.
All right, Keri, let's have a little break there and talk about the other story this week, Gategate.
I was just going to say Gategate. Do.
Here at Hero Glass Repair, we offer 24-hour assistance whenever your Hero Glass is damaged. No matter what the circumstances.
I received a Hero Glass off the archers at Bridge Farm because they thought I saved Tony from Otto. Truth is, I let the bull out in the first place because I couldn't bear to hear Tony go on about his trains anymore. I smashed the glass 2 days later while making out with my brother's wife. Hero Glass Repair were very quick and efficient. E. Grundy, Grunge Farm.
Everyone at the party thought I was the hero when I raised the alarm and tried to revive my brother-in-law on the drive of Lower Loxley. But we all know the truth about what happened that windy night, don't we? Anyway, I was quite fond of the hero glass they foolishly bought me. Unfortunately, I stepped on it while washing my feet in the kitchen sink one evening after lambing. Hero Glass Repair were here in minutes, and after restraining Leonard, who kept trying to help, it's now back to its former glory. D. Archer, Mrs.
Hero Glass Repair. Hero Glass Replace.
So we had this chat last week about John being a controlling partner. Richard got in touch to say, I don't see John as a controlling partner. The only thing he wants to control are his weights, watts to kilogram. That strange noise coming from his bottom bracket, his segment times, his personal bests. And
how tight his lycra is.
He's right to be pissed off, isn't he? Alice said to Alistair at the beginning of Tuesday's episode, I'm coming back to work. And he said, well, shallow end first. Was that a bit of him like being like, oh God, that's a river drowning in the river reference? Shit.
Yeah. He went, so to speak.
And then she said, I saw a guy I didn't recognise hanging round the yard outside the practice. So he went round and it was John. Now, fair play, I thought Paul had some bitchy asides, but I can only assume he learnt them from John. John was bloody brilliant. Everything Alistair said. He was like, she's very fond of you.
It's like, oh, thank you very much.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. But the thing is, currently, John, he's pissed off for two reasons. One of which is his missus has been playing away. The other of which is his son, Paul, is having a bad time and struggling with this. So obviously he doesn't like to see that, does he?
No. And there's that moment where Alistair said, well, just take a swing at me then.
Yeah, just punch me, would you?
Yeah.
You've broken the gate. Just knock my teeth out, please.
He invites him in for a whiskey. Whiskey seems to be just like on tap now with Alistair, doesn't it?
Whiskey, gambling, whatever next, prostitutes.
Yeah. Well, Alistair said to him, I feel like I hardly know you. And he went, and yet you do. You have Denise's version for what it's worth.
Yeah, I cheered at that bit.
And we've talked about that, haven't we? He did get a little emotional at the end where he said, like, I know I screwed up. I should have tried harder and I kind of didn't focus on the marriage. Words to that effect. He got it all wrong, he said. But he said, if you have to tell me if you're completely serious, and if you're not completely serious, then I'll fight for it.
Yeah, I'll fight for my marriage. Sadly, Alistair said, I am sure I love her. And then John went, we can easily fix this gate.
Yeah, I thought it's on drop hinges. Just let me pick it up. And then straight across the top of the head. And get on his bike and you just hear them frantic pedalling away.
And there's Alistair left behind with a gate wrapped around his neck and sort of stars spinning above his head.
Sadly, that didn't happen.
No, it's a shame that wasn't. Oh, what was the strange obsession with sausage rolls that they kept getting mentioned all the time by Harrison and William, wasn't it?
I don't know, maybe it was the word they needed to insert this week for the sweepstake.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, it did seem like that.
Yeah, it was all in relation to Emma's party, wasn't it?
Yeah, don't forget sausage rolls. I mean, I don't knock it. Sausage rolls, what a fine snack.
I got the feeling it was kind of an in-joke, but maybe it was just that's something that the Grundys are particularly fond of.
Yeah, but Harrison was saying it though as well, wasn't he? He urged for sausage rolls to be included.
Well, for him, it's practically cannibalism. I'm sorry, but he was a right git to Fallon when he said, well, you just decide if you want to go to the outlet. And she was like, well, I bloody supported you when you wanted to go part-time and chase butterflies, you prick.
I know. Oh, look, some litter. He literally just went, oh, it's up to you. Oh, she's got to give him a right good talking to. Like, look, I am out of here if you don't change your ways, mate.
Okay, any other little things there? So Keri and I are having a little discussion and a little disagreement about the Roy tribute. I thought it was quite well done. And Keri, you just used the word that everyone is using to describe Republicans in America. Weird.
Well, obviously it's very lovely content, but it felt out of the blue considering Ian died in January, like right at the beginning of the year. So for them to suddenly be... I mean, they were basically talking about Ian the whole time, weren't they? Even to the point where they said what a great actor and good man he was, because they were looking at the picture of, or the programme of him having played Judas. And who puts a picture on the back of a door?
I'm looking at a picture on the back of my door right now, Keri.
Wow, there you go. That says it all.
Yeah, it's an aerial photo of me in Porto. I'm visible from space.
But on the same... have you got a yellow hat on?
I have, that's why. It's a yellow sombrero, to be fair.
Okay. But there seemed to be a coat hook on the door as well, because the jacket was hung there. So is the jacket hung over the... This is the worst bit about it. There seemed to be a jacket hanging over the picture, which is on the back of a door.
When did Ian Pepperell die? I was in England when the news broke, so it had to be before January. It must have been December.
Right. Well, the obituary was in The Guardian on the 4th of January, so it must have been prior to that. But beginning of the year, whatever.
I think that maybe they were toying with the idea of somehow keeping the character in the show, and I think they've gone back and forth on it and decided, no, that's okay, look, that's it for Roy. And I don't know, who knows, maybe he does come back with a different actor at some point, but this was really them closing it off.
Yeah. I did wonder as well, do you think it possibly was providing a kind of bit of a backstory for Roy for newer listeners as well?
Possibly. I mean, I was saying on the midweeker that I kind of hope Phoebe comes back. Kerry's not so strong on it, but there's that side of Kate's family, isn't there, that seems to have Kate is kind of off the hook in all respects, isn't she? She said as much tonight. She always felt that Roy was always a better parent than she was.
Yeah, even if he sort of came to the naming ceremony at the last moment, he always came good kind of thing, whereas she felt she had a lot to learn from him in that regard. So yeah, could be.
I like the way the melancholy nature got broken up by Kirsty and Kate going, yeah, and then he went from shagging Hayley to shagging Elizabeth.
Yeah, and then they mentioned your favourite, Matthew, as well.
Longhorn Layla.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was delighted with that.
And how protective Kate was over Roy with her. She's like, no, they didn't make a good match. She just wanted him to be happy.
Kate said, I always looked out for him only because I didn't want to see him hurt. And Kirsty went, only? Suggesting she still carried a bit of a torch for him. But to her, I guess he was kind of a bit the boy from the wrong side of the tracks, wasn't he? But, that didn't stop him going off on the festival circuit in a falafel van.
They didn't seem like a good match, though, really, did they? So opposite.
Who do you think we'll be looking back at currently now and think, God, why did we ever think they'd work as a couple?
I'm trying to think of anyone who's working as a couple.
Yeah, we had this conversation recently, didn't we?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Like newer couplings.
Linda and Robert kind of come out as they work, don't they? Regardless of what you think of Linda.
Yeah. Oh, you see, Tom and Natasha, I'm not sure we ever, I don't know, maybe we have thought that they do work, only because they're both as sort of money hungry as each other.
They're both twats. Well, one couple that seemed not to be working and then kind of worked it back a bit, Fallon and Harrison. Yeah,
you say worked it back a bit. I'm not happy with Harrison still. If it took his chat with Alistair, didn't it? Well, Alistair went, is that all you're bothered about? For him to then suddenly be sitting at home going, I've been waiting for you. I love you and you can do the EV charging station.
Yeah, it feels purely cosmetic, doesn't it?
Yeah. It didn't occur to him, any of this, without a massive nudge. I'm not sure that Fallon's entirely convinced.
She's not. She's happy to see him not being like he was the other day. And he suggested to Alistair that was a deliberate tactic of his, to be non-committal and monosyllabic.
Yeah, no, he's annoying. She did another funny laugh thing again, didn't she?
Did she?
Yeah, another pie lie happened.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, at least the go-ahead is there for her to do the EV charging station proposal thing. And Harrison said he's going to go back full-time to policing, if they'll have him.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't.
Harrison, you gave chase to the bank robbers, but apparently you saw a Heath fritillary butterfly and pulled up in the lay-by to take a photo. Can you please explain yourself?
You saw a carrier bag floating by and chased after it. The litter picking has gone mental in this omnibus, hasn't it?
He said the other day to Fallon, well, it's, about talking to Alice. He said, that's what the law says. I was like, so since when has that bothered him? Speaking of that case, Emma and Will, we knew we were going to have one episode out, one episode in. So we've got them back together. Will saying this is very similar to Nick hitting Matt.
Will sounds so thick this evening.
I think that's, if I'm going to be kind, that's a man under pressure clutching at straws.
Yes, you are being kind, aren't you?
Not cheese straws either.
And thinking like, oh, let's just not do anything. It worked out fine then, so it's bound to, like, as if they're identical situations.
And the guy you hit, he buggered off under a cloud of being a criminal, and the perpetrator is dead. So it's a little bit different, Will.
Yeah. What about the fact that Alice might go to prison in this instance?
And she's kind of related to you, and your son did it.
I just could not believe it. At least Emma at that point was saying, no, it's got to come from George. George has to confess. But then right at the end, George suddenly went, I know, let's pretend someone else was there. Like, that's going to work. I mean, hopefully both Will and Emma say, no way, we can't do that. Because that's even more of a mess, isn't it?
Oh, I envisaged you, Keri, just sat there with a head against one side of your temple going, oh, God, this story. And then suddenly he was like, what if I said it was Harry and one of your eyebrows cocked up and a little smile? You'd have been like, actually, I quite like that idea. Because he said, I get off, Alice doesn't go to jail, Harry gets all the blame.
Yeah, of course. Like, if you're smoking crack, this is a good idea. But Harry's probably got an alibi. He wasn't there. Then you'll be found out to have not only withheld all of this information, but then have tried to fit someone else up.
Plus, Chris went to see Harry, and I think he really took him his word, didn't he?
Yeah. Funny ending, really, because we don't know whether Emma and Will are going to go, what a great idea.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna fade in on Monday or something. They'll be like with this huge diagram on the wall going, all right, okay, so if Harry was here and George was here, and let's just say this bottle of fruity cider is the car. Oh, sorry.
Because George did say, I don't have to name him. I'll just say I saw someone running off.
Well, I don't know who it was, officer, but it did look like Harry Chilcott.
Yeah.
He's like, I could just say it was a bloke who looked like him. I mean, this is one of these cases, and you ever see police body cam footage? You know, when someone, like, even to the point where people get killed and murdered, and you're like, oh my God, the devious minds that must be behind this. And then you see the body cam footage of the arrests, and they're right fucking divs.
What, the police?
Yeah, no. But I'd be so pissed off to get killed by a thicko. And quite often it's the case.
Yeah, I know. My heart sank, at that suggestion, because I thought, at last, we're getting to a kind of denouement where they know that George...
Oh, hello, Linda.
...is... Don't even get me started on Linda in Friday's episode. Why don't people stand up against her rudeness and weirdness?
She's tolerated, isn't she? And I think...
It's not good.
Yeah, but do you know what? People used to be afraid of her before, and now they're timid because of post-explosion Linda.
Yeah, I know, but you still can't get ridden roughshod. And she was like that before the bloody explosion.
She was. It's taken her a while to get back into her stride. Chelsea gave her a pixie haircut. She got given the panto again, and now she's a fucking dictator.
We heard Joy putting her into place the other night, and I was like, yes, and now tonight she's doing this bloody litter regime. How much litter are they expecting at this fete?
Don't know. They're introducing 2-tier littering. Very pertinent, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Mr. Snodes on Twitter, he suggested that all the kids at the fete be given one of those grabby hand stick things and a bag, and you get a sweet and a sticker for each full bag of rubbish. That's a better idea, isn't it? Get everyone else to do it.
Yeah, or get everyone to put sellotape on the soles of their shoes. I like the way she said, well, tier 1 will be the command centre. Obviously someone who's at ease with being in control. And you just heard Joy go, you then.
I know.
But that bit where they bumped into Lillian, and she went, well, we're just on our way to see Kirsty to see what she thought of the suggestion of the vehicle going between cantering on and the fete. And Lillian was like, well, we loved it. And Linda went, so did I.
Oh, she drives me mad, honestly. And then there's this brewery dray shuttle now. Why does it have to have such a complicated name?
It's going to go north from the Bull via Hollow Tree, and you could just hear Linda going, no.
It's a bit like Justin, isn't it? Who shouldn't have anything to do with Grey Gables anymore, but he's just sort of running it. Linda's the same.
You mean Oliver?
Sorry, Oliver. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to confuse the two sometimes, isn't it? All right, Keri, anything else get your goat about it over the last 2 days?
No, but I would quickly, briefly like to say thank you so much to Louise Polehill, one of our Patreon supporters, who gave me some tickets to a comedy gig during the week, which her husband Alex Martini was hosting. I had a brilliant time. Thank you. They really love the podcast. So
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the other thing we can say before we go to the break is don't forget to register to the Fantasy Football League if you want to join. The details are on our Facebook. They're on our Patreon with easy step-by-step instructions in the comments on both of those platforms. And there's an episode description in the podcast. I will put the videos. There's a couple of YouTube links that show you how to build a team and how to join a league. I'll put those in as well, just for anyone who's not sure with the code you need to join. All right, Keri, let's take a little break and talk about our socials, eh?
Yes.
If you get a little tired of the caviar and pims at Countering On, why not take a dray ride down to the Poor Zoo at the Village Green? All aboard, and off we go.
What's that thing presenting itself to us over there?
It's an actual Grundy in the wild. Look how it cleans itself.
A strange woman gave me these.
They're cheese eggs. Tarquin, you were right not to eat them.
Why is everyone gathering round with pitchforks?
They're tossing the vicar. Try not to look, Arabella. The Poor Zoo. For plebs without horses. Tetanus required.
So on our Patreon this week, we did the Cider Shed midweek special Points of View, where the listeners got in touch, told us their grievances, their plot predictions. So many people got in touch. We really enjoyed it. We had a few bits of feedback. Viv said, an afterthought, as Matthew was referencing watching the Olympics, why no mention in the Archers? Sure, Kenton would have been setting up big screens for main medal events and mixing Olympic-themed cocktails.
Brilliant point, because they don't have to be specific, do they, about events and things? Just like, yeah, some sort of we're showing the Olympics would do.
Jessa North said, lots of food for thought in this episode and not dodgy meat, foraged weeds or toppling ice cream bloody Sundays. Kate said, Ian definitely didn't donate the sperm for Henry. I've listened to it recently. Helen did it all through a clinic after Greg's daughter Annette had had an abortion despite Helen's pleas not to. It made her realise how much she wanted someone to love her. Tony was appalled and Helen had to reassure him that the sperm was top quality, having been screened by the clinic. Ian painted the nursery, which was in the Death Stairs flat. She also added, you can go back to 2007 on Tom Archer's YouTube. Hey, we're daft, Keri, when they were saying, what about the cricketer that had a thing for Elizabeth? Now, I always think of this guy as being more involved with Kirsty. It was Iftikhar.
Oh, I think of him as helping with maths.
Well, he was the maths teacher, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't really think about cricket with him.
Joe Graham said, Ifty, cricketer, he tutored Freddie. Of course he did. Yeah, I was connecting with Kirsty. Angela said, I think that Henry's middle name might be Ian. Ian was very supportive of Helen when she was grieving after Greg's death and his daughter's termination. Helen got very little support from her parents who did not really approve of her relationship with Greg. He was a divorced gamekeeper and probably not up to their expectations for their darling daughter. Ian was seduced by Adam, whom he later discovered to be something of a Lothario or whatever the gay equivalent might be. Adam has had numerous flings and dalliances, whereas Ian is more loyal and dependable. Don't forget that Ian sussed Rob in the very early stages of Ron's relationship with Helen.
Who's Ron?
I presume that's Rob.
It is, yes.
I'm like Anchorman. I just read what's in front of me.
Yeah, don't blame you.
I do hope that you're going to do a feature-length podcast on the debate concerning Harrison's wank stain abilities. I noticed Keri's reference to sperm donations, etc., which I took to be a subliminal reference and a glimmer of hope for me. Nina said, Keri, I'm sure your magic bullet would get Mick. And she came back later. Ah, yes, got to the later bit and bang, Wurzel Gummidge is gone. Thank you.
Of course. Well spotted, love.
Rod said, is Marky connected to the dogfighting gang that Neil helped to get put away? I don't think so. Carl confirmed again. Iftikhar was the man who had feelings for Lizzie, yes. Ian Morris said, really great episode, guys. Out of interest, I've been listening since 2003 and don't know this Gabriel. When was he about and what happened to him? Nelson Gabriel, isn't it you're talking about?
Yeah.
What happened to him, Keri?
Oh, don't ask things like that. I don't know.
Okay.
Don't know anything.
Well, the bit that you couldn't remember on the Patreon.
Oh, yeah, the red shoes in the wardrobe.
Pat Brown has said, the red shoes in the wardrobe. Can't remember all of it, but Julia, Nigel's mum, found red high-heeled shoes in Nelson's wardrobe and concluded he must have a need to wear women's clothes. It turned out to be that he was practicing walking in them for his part as a dame in the panto. There must be a record of it somewhere, because Radio 4 celebrated one of the many Archers anniversaries by asking listeners to vote for their favourite clip. The only other one I can remember was Shula after Mark's death, but the Red Shoes clip was the winner.
Fabulous.
I stayed in New York for a couple of months, way back, probably 17 years ago, something like that. I was staying in this guy's apartment, and it was with the permission of the condominium, which is a big deal in America. Like, you have to kind of get the permission of the building if there's somebody else in your apartment, etc. And I went downstairs to talk to the head of the condominium, who was in the flat below. And he was this quite meek, mild man, balding, like round spectacles. And we went into his living room, and in the middle of his living room was one of those cylindrical glass cake covers on a cake tray. You know what I mean? Like, so the cake is
Like
on a little
dome.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was see-through. And under them was a perfect pair of red sequined ruby slippers, like from Wizard of Oz. During the whole conversation about the rules and the regulations, I just could not stop. It was like an Alan Partridge thing. I just couldn't stop looking at them.
What a fantastic way to display something in your home. Brilliant.
Yeah. And at one point, he just broke away and he went, "Oh, you like the shoes?" And I said, "Yeah." He went, "I used to wear them to Studio 54 back in the day."
Fantastic.
Rob said, "Thanks for the shout, guys. I'm feeling a lot better now, well enough to be back looking after the grandchildren for the holidays. Way!"
Oh, that's good. Good to hear. He doesn't half love his grandchildren. I've seen many a photograph of them.
Jonathan Harley said, "Tom Forrest was the character who gave an intro to the omnibus each week."
Ah, thank you for that.
So it was just the omnibus, not each episode? I guess that would make sense, wouldn't
No,
it?
yeah. It was the omnibus, yeah.
Stuart or Stewdog said, "What about a revisit for the midweeker of the robbery at the shop? Could be done."
Yeah.
Carl said, "That was a hoot. I can't wait for the Keri hunting down God Emperor Keri about the damn gills."
I did hunt him down. Keri Davis. Keri hunting Keri Davis.
And you got back the square root of nada.
Yes, indeed. But, he said he will let the team know, as if they didn't know already, that we're chomping at the bit for this information. I sort of went, hello, a couple of questions. Will we ever get to meet the Gills or know who the 60% owners of Grey Gables are? I would love a very specific answer to this. And he said, as you are aware, we never speak about the future plot lines, basically. But I will let the team know that you're wondering.
Thanks for that, Keri, not you.
Yeah.
Miss Seamlessly has helpfully said the Pargeter triptych is still on Spotify.
Oh, nice.
His dog is Jennings. Of course it was. Definitely worth a listen. Nigel, less posh, came back as a member of the jury at Helen's trial, so not the judge.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, happy to be corrected, as always. We don't mind a bit of correction, do we, Keri?
Oh, God, no.
We can handle it.
I'm surprised there isn't more of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think people are just polite, really.
Oh, bless them.
So, yeah, if you want to support the Patreon, get those midweekers. You get a sense of what happens on those, the kind of those things, and the time travel episodes are a lot of fun. And you get the main podcast early on weekends, ad-free. Came out Friday night last time. Incredible. People that became patrons this week. First up, Natalie Pinnock.
Welcoming Natalie Pinnock into the Cider Shed Patreon posse. Thanks so much, Natalie. Anything you need, just give a yell. We're most grateful for your support.
Badger, Natalie?
Woo! Woo! I've learned not to clap hands on air. There will be an outtakes episode coming on Patreon soon where I start clapping and it sounds for all the world like something else is happening.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I will have to make an outtakes episode from that one.
For Christmas, maybe.
Next up, Joe K.
We are honored to announce Joe K has become a Cider Shed patron. You absolute hero, Joe. Thanks for everything. Can we interest you in a hero glass? No? Well, how about a then?
Yay!
Thank you, Joe K. Much appreciated. Also joining the Patreon this week, Joe Richardson.
Greetings, Joe Richardson. A massive thanks to you for becoming a Cider Shed patron. We hope you enjoy all the back catalog of midweek specials. We're so glad you've joined us.
Yay! Lots of Joes. Well, two.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Natalie. And also, welcome, a little belatedly, Rob Williams.
Badger! First up!
Well, if it isn't the top man, Rob Williams, the patron of Prague himself, now honoring us with his presence in the Cider Shed Patreon gang.
Badger!
Thanks to you, sir, for coming on in.
First up!
Pull up a chair, Rob. Got any good gossip?
Yay! Welcome, Rob. Long-time listener, new-time Patreon.
Yeah, I hope that was prog enough for you, Rob. So yeah, that's how you can support the Patreon one way, going to our Patreon page. Another way you can do it is by writing a review.
We've got a new 5-star review. The title is Great Pod, and the person who wrote the review is called The Old Grey Bird. And they have written, Great Pod, I love this bit, I listen in bed and sometimes nod off. I rewind and catch up the next night. I've listened to The Archers for over 50 years, and I dislike most of the characters.
Welcome.
Yes, you're in the right bloody place, to be honest. Oh, love it. Thank you so much for writing the review. And anyone who hasn't written a review yet, do so.
I love those reviews that talk about the listening at bedtime. Viv immediately responded to the midweek special because it came out just into the small hours. And she said, thanks for this, guys. We're struggling to get to sleep, and this popped up perfectly.
Do you not do that sometimes? I know you've got a partner, haven't you? But I love listening to the spoken word podcasts. I just put a timer on for 30 minutes and listen to the rest of history to just like drift off to sleep to, and then go back the next day.
You can also follow us on Instagram at the Cider Shed Pod. You can follow us on Facebook. The group is called the Cider Shed Podcast. Just have to answer a very easy question to get in, which a lot of people haven't done. So if you applied to join and you didn't get in, it's probably because you haven't answered the question. So just go back and double check that. It's kind of a flexible question. I mean, someone did just say no. I let them in, which I'm still quite proud of. But I checked their history and they were members of lots of Archers groups. And the other way of following us, Twitter and Blue Sky, right?
Yeah, Twitter is at the Cider Shed Pod, and Blue Sky is at the Cider Shed Pod.bsky.social.
All right, everyone, take care. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Hang on.